All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr, SEC Basketball Tuesday game day, Max. We've already previewed the 3 games, only 3 games today, 3 games tomorrow, right? Because you have
Yep.
4 teams who have the midweek off, so not as many games in the midweek, but we have already previewed all those games. But as you know, hey, we go live here pretty much every day. So we're going to talk SEC basketball. What do you know here at Southeastern 16? But Sam is still tweeting as we are already live. Sam is saying that we're not here. So Sam is clearly on a delay, perhaps. But, Max, as we said, we've got some interesting games tonight. Really all of them, I think, are kind of intriguing in different ways.
Oh, yeah.
As
Definitely.
you do have, like we've said before, just kind of it's a matchup-based league this year. Every team is there's a lot of strong teams, but the matchups are the most interesting part here. And Vanderbilt heads to Alabama. You've got Tennessee hosting Mississippi State. Of course, you've got Missouri heading to Texas. And I think the common theme with all these teams is that yes, Auburn is still sitting there at 5-0 in the league, still doing their thing. But when you look at some of these other teams, right? Alabama's 4-1, Missouri's 4-1, Mississippi State's 3-2, Vanderbilt's 3-2. So when you start to look at the SEC title race moving forward, this is definitely one of those scenarios where it's okay, if you're Alabama, how do you stay in this race? In all these teams, it's kind of the same thing because we're looking at Auburn and what they're doing right now, knowing they're going to get their best player back at some point soon. And so these are the kind of games that maybe you look back on from Mississippi State, who's 3-2. If you drop to 3-3, all of a sudden that SEC title, gets a little bit further away. I don't know. This is kind of an intriguing setup with these games, not only just tonight, but also the 3 games tomorrow night.
I mean, everything. Honestly, everything. If you have a record, basically 500 or over right now. If you don't, you're still in it. You can always go on a run. We've seen crazier things in this league, trust me. But pretty much all those games now, it's boy, a lot on the line. Boy, a lot on the line. We said that for pretty much every prediction we made. And when you look at the spreads, I'm on ESPN's just kind of scoreboard layout, and they put I think it's from ESPN. They put the lines out. Alabama minus 11.5. Tennessee minus 6.5. Texas minus 1.5. I think we did say Texas would be right on there. So hey, you got 3 games, all 3 the longest one's 11.5. Still, I mean, last year we were routinely seeing spreads you'd have at least one that's minus 15.5, minus 16. And you're okay, it just hasn't been that way this year.
Yeah. No, it hasn't, and I think that's why we will start to see that separation. We're 5 games in, so now is kind of that point where you start to see, and we've already we're talking about there's still 2 teams that are 0-5 in Arkansas and South Carolina. You've got a trio of teams at 1-4. That's why a big game for Texas tonight against Missouri, a chance to take a step forward for them, get closer back to 500. But yeah, I just think it does, at least at this point. Auburn has been so good that, yes, if you're placing your money right now on who is going to win the SEC regular season title, Auburn is going to be the favorite, I would think, pretty clearly.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on Alabama, who's probably, I would say, second in that number. But still, right? It's if you are these kind of teams like Mississippi State, that there's 6 teams that are 3-2. And that includes Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi State, right? Vanderbilt, A&M. Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky are all top 10 teams still right now, or close, I think. A&M's a top 15 team. Mississippi State's a top 15 team. I don't remember what the AP poll said yesterday. It all runs together, but we were kind of laughing about it. We were really no one moved in the AP poll except for Missouri jumping in because everybody won games and everybody lost games except for Auburn. And of course, like we mentioned, Missouri goes 2-0. They jump into the top 25. And so it's kind of just one of those things where as you're mapping out this schedule, it's much harder to do this year in terms of knowing that at any time someone can pull an upset because we've just seen that with sort of the strength of the league. But it is kind of fun to start to say, all right, who are going to be those teams? Last year it was what? It was Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, kind of heading into that final week. Is that right? It was those three basically. Wasn't that the race?
For who, like the
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
So, I think that's what, like, we're still a long way away from that, but these are the kind of games this year where, as we said, you lose a game, you drop 2 or 3 games behind a team like Auburn, then you're looking up and saying, well, how's Auburn going to drop 2 or 3 games? Because right now, not sure they will. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, right now the SEC has half the top 10. And then we had the long debate, not long debate, but we had the middle pack debate, if you want to call it that. A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. And the AP, they were 13, 14, 16.
Yeah.
So we went,
there you go.
We're spinning our wheels trying to figure out which team is better, and the national AP goes 13, 14, 16.
I'm still trying to filibuster for my, I'm trying to get this veto taken off my Ole Miss moving them up in the group chat, but Max is probably trying to do the same with Missouri, perhaps. So we're gonna leave it to Judge Chris Lee. He's the one we're gonna blame. I think I blamed Max yesterday. I'm gonna blame Chris now. I'm gonna say he's the one that doesn't allow us to make changes to our votes once they're in. But yeah, but I mean that is a good point. Like, it's just, you've got these teams that are all close together, and yeah. So hold on, Carlos. Let me get to Carlos real quick. Missouri was at 5, Carlos. They were at 5. All right, they weren't at 4. They were at 5. But I mean, explain yourself, Carlos, because I mean, Missouri's put together a pretty good body of work right now. So I think it's okay for them to move up. We're not ranking these by the computers. We're not ranking this by the AP poll. We're ranking this by the Southeastern 16 power formula. I don't know what that includes. A bunch of protein bars, a bunch of I don't know. Like, it's just that this is our power formula. So
yeah. So it's hard to visualize sometimes. And we'll give our extra thoughts on the games today, because there's definitely some storylines with injuries and whatnot. But I feel like you can say, like, this league is amazing. It's one of the best leagues that there's ever been. Look at the numbers, look at the non-conference. But until you see the seed line that is assigned to the team for March Madness, it doesn't really sit in. It doesn't really sink in. Yeah. Right now, the SEC is projected to have at least 4 teams to get a 1 or 2 seed. Okay, that's ridiculous in its own right. Then you have Missouri, A&M, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State all projected between a 6 and a 4-ish, 3-ish. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 teams, guys. 9 teams right now projected to be a 6 seed or better. 9. I mean, that's crazy talk.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the projection right now.
Yeah. It's wild. I mean, if we go to bracket matrix, I always say I like bracket matrix, but remember, the problem sometimes can be that the brackets just don't update fast enough, and so you're going to get some of those outliers that cause kind of the weird numbers sometimes. But if it was updated yesterday, so let's go with this for now. If you just want to use the range, as Max said, all right. So you would have had 5 SEC teams in the top 8 seeds: Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Kentucky. Not much separation with those individual lines. Of course, Auburn is the obvious number 1 seed. I think Lenardi updates his this morning, so you can find that when I tweet it out on Twitter, as I do every week. You had Mississippi State bracket matrix, the 3rd 4 seed. Texas A&M, the 4th 4 seed. Ole Miss, the first 5 seed. So they're all jumbled together. The average seed number is all right beside each other. So, as we said, those are the 3 teams that we had issues with, but they're all right there. Missouri is now the first number 8 seed on bracket matrix. So, like, they're moving up considerably. Georgia, the 2nd number 8 seed. Oklahoma is still the 2nd number 9 seed, which I think that's
fall.
That's going backward right now. Vanderbilt would be the first number 11 seed according to this, and then everything else is really not that surprising. Texas, the first team out, according to, again, all the bracket matrix, which, again, they're not all updated.
How many do they have in the top 6 seeds? Do they have 9 also?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8?
Okay, 8.
Yeah.
Still.
Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Kentucky, that's 5. Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Ole Miss is 8. So who would be the other person? Who would be the other team?
Torvik has Missouri projected as the final 6 seed right now. So they're a little high on
yeah,
Mizzou maybe. But
maybe he's incorporating our SEC power rankings now. You think Bart's incorporating our power rankings in his formula? It could be. He could be. I mean, he could be. So
it wouldn't surprise me.
He knows how much I love the computers.
That's how elite the league is this year. It's crazy. Like,
yeah,
you're just gonna pick you're gonna pencil in. Okay, yep, I'm gonna pick this 4 seed to win the first 2 games, and I'm gonna pick this 1 seed to win the first 2 games. Oh wait, I've got Ole Miss against Alabama in the Sweet 16. Well, how'd that happen? It's like it's gonna happen all over the place.
Yeah. You guys already know when we fill out our brackets. You know how many SEC matchups we're going to eventually get ourselves into just because we're going to be like, I'm taking that SEC team to advance there. Yep. We're going to have so many. Like, there's going to be some weird combinations. Mac's going to have Auburn and A&M in the national championship probably. Like, it's going to be wild. I'm telling you. So, yeah. But anyways, so, yes, as Ollie says, power rankings mean everything. Even Bart Torvik knows that now. Yep. They're everything. So, I'll get to the $2 super chat real quick. The streak continues, just in case anyone wasn't aware. Zach, the streak continues here. Southeastern 16. So, yes, the Rams hoodie. The Rams could not advance in the brackets in the NFL, but it's okay. They had their shot. So, all right.
Pull up the injury report if you want.
Pull up the injury report, and then we've got a couple other comments that we'll get back to here in just a minute. So, yeah, the injury report for tonight's games.
All righty. So, yes. Okay, here we go. So, for Mississippi State and Tennessee, obviously the 2 injuries that have been just forever now, Estrella and Clary both out. But then Claudel Harris and Kugel pop up, both probable. So I bet they'll play. But I think this might be Harris's first time popping up on the injury report. So
I think so, yeah.
Kugel's been on there past few games as questionable, though. So to see him as probable, looks like he'll probably be off at next game. So that's what you got there. Also, Cade Phillips was popping up on Tennessee's report for a while. He's been off past few games, so it looks like that shoulder's all better. Vandy, Alabama, still Hemingway out and Wright still out. But Millette, I was trying to read up on it. I guess it's his knees, some knee soreness that he's been dealing with. Oates said it's still bothering him. So Millette is out and Reed is questionable. Reed's been questionable, I think, 3 games in a row now. It's either 2 or 3. Didn't play last game. So that could be a big piece, especially against a Vanderbilt team that you could use a little bit of a versatile defender against the way Vandy plays offense there.
Yep.
And then the last game, Trent Burns and Kendall Weaver have been out for a while. And then Kaluma pops up as a probable. I'm sure he'll play, but Texas has definitely missed a little bit of Kendall Weaver, one of their best rebounders, even though he's a guard, brings that physicality. So there you have it. There's the report.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, to me, and all the games are interesting tonight and for different reasons, but I just think that Missouri and Texas game it is interesting because, like we said, like, it was tough knowing that Texas was going to be the favorite in this game, and they are now. We all picked the underdog in Missouri. What could go wrong there? But I think it is just wanting to see Texas win one of these games, and tonight may be the night they do it. You said they came up close, against Auburn, Tennessee, lose both those games by 5 points, 4 points. They won one of those close games away from home against Oklahoma, but, they had a big lead there, and that one kind of evaporated. And so I think seeing how they play in what you would expect to be a tight game, right? it's been hit and miss for Texas, to say the least, in some of those games this year. So I do think it's like, hey, eventually they're going to start winning some of those, because I think they're pretty talented. We've said that. Like, they feel more talented than their record and spot in our rankings indicates. But still, this Missouri team, they just feel like one of those groups that about as confident as you could be right now based on a look at what they've accomplished. So, yeah, I mean, I think, it's just, can Missouri shoot the ball as well as they have been shooting, have a poor shooting night, all bets are off at that point. And Texas, I mean, they've been putting up points, and they can shoot the ball too in the right, circumstance. We've talked about that. And Trey Johnson can take over a game. Kaluma can take over a game. So, yeah, this one's, I don't know. Like, again, they're all interesting to me, but this one might be the most intriguing just based on kind of the setup here with Texas being the favorite and Missouri just kind of keeps defying the odds to this point.
Yeah, and if you look at, if you look at Caleb Grill's, what he's done from three in conference play so far, he's 14 of 30, 46.7%. He's been on a tear. I'm going to quickly run through you his 5 conference games from three. These are his 3-point numbers, starting from the most recent game. 3 of 5, 6 of 10, 2 of 7, 3 of 5, 0 of 3. The one game they lost, he went 0 of 3. That was at Auburn. I doubt it was just because of Grill's threes, But what I'm trying to say is Grill's really been adding a lot from the perimeter shooting. I know he's a elite shooter, but still 47% from three in conference play so far. It seems like that's not sustainable. Who knows? He could. But as I was looking at that, look, and I'll finish this point because I want to get into how Missouri might win the inside. But Ken Pom does the player comparisons. You're never going to guess who one of Caleb Grill's top 5 player comparisons are for this year. It is Demoy Hodge from 2023.
Wow. That is wild.
Right?
That's perfect. Yeah.
What Ken Pom does, it takes all your individual stats, height, and compares them to the entire player database, and it comes up with comparisons of who has your similar stats. Obviously, some are going to be a little bit skewed because it's just going off numbers, but that's pretty cool. Out of the entire database, It comes up with Demoy Hodge.
I like that. No, that's perfect. I mean, again, because Kobe Brown was great. Like, that whole team was great, but it's just what Demoy Hodge could do. Like, just complete, like, streaker type guy, right? Like, he just could completely boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, it's a 9-point swing in a game or an 8-point, whatever. Like, just because he just could make so many plays in a row. And, so I think that's it with this game, right? And if we're in, I think, what was it? Let's see. I think Big Gator EJ asked this. How is Texas favored? What are you missing? I think the reason Texas is favored is a combination of things. I think that their back is against the wall here. And they have played, I mean, like we said, 2 top 5, 6 teams in Auburn and Tennessee. Yeah. They were right there at the end of the game with chances to win both of those. And so their back's against the wall. They're 1-4. If they lose this one, you're 1-5 heading into a rematch with a team that beat you by 20 in A&M on Saturday. And then after that, you go to Ole Miss. So it's like you're probably 1-7 maybe at that point. And so this is like just such a significant game for Texas. And I think if we look back at it after the game, we're like, all right, Texas won this game. How do we not see this coming? We're all going to look back and say the same thing. It's just going to be, we should have known. Like, this is kind of that ultimate spot. We've seen teams year after year after year. You have to win, you have to win, you have to win. And, you get a ranked team coming in, you find a way to get it done. So I wouldn't, like we mentioned, I mean, there's a reason Texas is favored in this game. And so it's a tough spot for Missouri, too. I really think that, and I think Texas has been playing well. It just hasn't showed up necessarily in the win column. I think they've been playing pretty well for the most part. So that's probably the biggest thing. So.
Yeah, and when you look at their home record, they've lost 3 home games already. Probably, and it's crazy to say, UConn is probably the worst one.
Right.
But that's crazy to say based on the past few years. But the the odds are basically just predictive metrics. It's basically what the odds are at this point for college basketball. It's a large algorithm of a predictive metric. And so Texas losing by 5 at home to Auburn, the odds don't care that they lost the game. The odds care that it was 5 points to Auburn. Same thing with Tennessee, 4 points to Tennessee. It doesn't matter if it was a win or a loss. So those nice, strong home results fare really well with the computers. And I think the spot is taken into consideration, like you said. Like just Texas. I mean, both teams obviously need a win, but you're fighting for a title if you're Missouri. But Texas needs this win, I think, and it's a little bit different than Missouri's level of desperation. Texas is going to be playing with their hair on fire in this one. And when you look at the conference numbers, Texas's defense so far through 5 games is the 15th rated defense in the SEC. Only Kentucky's has been worse. However, when you look at what they've been doing, they've been getting scored on. Teams are making shots. They're third fewest in the SEC in opponent 3-point rate. So they're not letting you shoot threes. And what that makes me think is Missouri, a team that over the past 5 games is shooting a team percentage of 41.1%. You're going on the road to play a team that's desperate, that through the past 5 games has done a really good job at limiting opponent 3-point attempts. That just makes me think that this game is going to be very interior oriented and kind of not a gross game, but it's just there's not going to be a ton of shooting in this. Texas is a very isolation team. Missouri's going to try to get to the free throw line as much as possible. And so I don't think that 40% is going to hold up tonight.
All right, so Lenardi just released his updated bracket. That's why
boy.
Typing.
Let's hear it.
So I'm going to give you the numbers here on that real quick, Max. If there's anything in the chat you want to jump into real quick, give me 30 seconds, and I'll have this full list ready for us.
Well, Braves fan is here and says also really hard to win road games. That also goes into it. We say that, and it is. Know, right? You're not wrong. Yeah. But then the road team keeps stealing some. It feels like every slate now the road team's been snagging 1 or 2. Just on Saturday we had Auburn, Alabama. I mean, those were the 2. They were big ones. But there was 2 road wins on Saturday in games that were pretty closely contested. So I guarantee you this: we've got Alabama that's an 11-point favorite at home. Tennessee's a 6.5-point favorite at home, and Texas is a 1.5-point favorite at home. One of the home teams going down. I don't know which one, but mathematically, the odds would tell you that at least one of those home teams going down. So,
all right, here you go. Okay, so Lenardi has updated his bracket this morning. I know Thursday is usually bracketology day, but we're gonna have some fun with this because he updates it every Tuesday. So here's where we are. All right, the top overall seed, no shock, is still Auburn. Alabama, as expected, has moved to a number 1 seed as well. So the Tide moving up to the number 1 spot. Tennessee is a number 2 seed, which is where he had them before. So we kept saying, even though Max and I have moved Tennessee down considerably in our rankings, they were further down than most people would have them in our power rankings this week. Still a 2 seed right now because the computers love them. Meanwhile, Florida still a 2 seed as well. Not surprised by that. Kentucky is now a 3 seed, which also is probably not much of a surprise. Okay. Mississippi State is a number 4 seed. They've moved up from a 5.
Yep.
Ole Miss is a 4 seed.
4!
Ole Miss has moved up. I'm telling you, that's why I kept saying that Alabama win for Ole Miss is that's why I was trying to
give me the bracket.
Cheat
Give me a bracket.
in the power rankings to move them up.
Give me a bracket.
All right. So Ole Miss is moving up to a 4. A&M has dropped to a 5, which I think is
Yeah.
fair. You
Yep.
still have to penalize them for losing games, even though they didn't have Wade Taylor. You still got to take them down a little bit. So A&M's a 5. We continue on. Number 7, Missouri.
Okay.
So the Tigers have moved to a 7 seed, playing North Carolina, by the way. I'll go through the matchups in a minute to have fun with them. But, yeah, Missouri's a 7, so that's a huge jump for them, I think. Georgia has fallen to an 8. Probably not surprising, but I think, again, they were a low 7 before that, so they've dropped to an 8.
Yep.
And I think, let's see, then we get to the 10, which is Vanderbilt, has jumped to a 10. So they're not on even like the last 4 in line or anything like that. Vanderbilt is a 10. And then Oklahoma, also a 10. They're also not, they're both part of that last 4 buys, according to him. So for the first time in a while, there are no SEC teams in the last 4 in. Again, Vanderbilt and Oklahoma are close, but they're not there. And then the only other SEC team on the radar, Texas, is the second team out. So,
oh man, that makes tonight's game so big.
I know.
This is
that's
almost
the thing. If Texas wins, they're in. So you got 13 SEC teams at that point. 13 teams if Texas wins tonight. So
I'm really glad
but
that you picked Missouri as well, so that you wouldn't gain on me in the picks race.
I know. I really, really was going to pick Texas, but then I just, I don't know. So I'm trying. See, I got to be strategic because I'm like, I have to really pick my spots where I am just so confident to try to get one that you guys don't get. But like, I'm not completely confident on this one. But again, I do think Texas is a favorite for a reason. But
so we have Tennessee, Mississippi State as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee is a 2, and Mississippi State is a 4. If Mississippi State, just humor me for a second, they've got 2 straight road games, Tennessee and South Carolina. Then they got 2 straight home, Alabama and Missouri. If they go 3-1, they drop a game against Tennessee and then beat Carolina, Alabama, Missouri. I think the Tennessee loss being on a Tuesday, and then if they back that up with a South Carolina win, maybe you drop them to a 5, maybe, but I would like to think they'd stay at a 4. And then if they bank Alabama, Missouri at home the next week to finish off January to start February, are we starting February with Mississippi State as a top 3 seed? Gotta be.
Probably. Oh yeah, that would be enough at that point. Because if you look at their, let me pull it up here. Again, I thought the Ole Miss jump into 4 was a little surprising, but I think again, we talk about its value of quality wins, and that's why we always have our fun with Kentucky. Everybody does with me, but like that's what I keep going back to is they just have so many good wins. And I know they've lost games, but we've seen with the committee every single year, you can lose games as long as you make up for them with good wins, and that's what Kentucky has done this year, and that's why, like we said, Ole Miss is getting there too because now they've got 5 quad 1 wins. And so I that's it. I mean, that is the story here. They're 7-3, as we said, quad 1 and quad 2, Ole Miss. Mississippi State is 8-3. They got 4 quad 1, 4 quad 2. So, really, it is that simple. Like, we don't even have to complicate this. Like, that is such a big part of the game here. Now, you could also say, well, Tennessee's 6-2 in the first 2 quads. Why is Tennessee so highly regarded in that instance, right? People are going to ask that question. Florida's 7-2. So, it's kind of that thing, but let's also call it what it is. Margin of victory matters. And whether we won't say it or not. And so those teams just destroyed some teams in non-conference play. And so they're still higher in the computers. And so the SEC it's the ultimate combination. Great wins, convincing wins. And that's why so many of these teams are as highly ranked as they are. So,
you know who's doing work for the SEC right now? I mean, just putting in a shift. Purdue going on a run has given the non-conference bump to the SEC like crazy. They were 27th in KenPom after they got crushed by Auburn late December. Right now they're 10th.
Yeah.
So them rising up, that's helping Alabama, A&M, and Auburn right now, and Ole Miss.
Well,
All of them.
You know who else? Like even a Louisville is helping. And I know
Yes.
Tennessee and Kentucky beat those teams, but like that's a helpful thing. And I listen, when I have my arguments about whether I think Louisville's a significant quality win for those two teams, it's honestly in the context of not that I think Louisville's a bad team. I mean, they're 14-5. They haven't lost since they lost to Kentucky on December 14th, so a month. It's just the quality of the ACC right now. And like I'm seeing the teams they're beating, but I'm thinking, man, Virginia twice, 133 in Ken Palm. Syracuse 124. Like North Carolina's 32, Pitt's 33, Clemson's 26. But even those teams, right? You can certainly pick out flaws with all of them. And so I think that's it, right? It's weighing those, but technically from a numbers standpoint, those are great wins.
Right.
And again, we talk about Michigan, right? For Oklahoma, think about where Oklahoma would be if they didn't have the Michigan win right now. I mean, Arkansas has the Michigan win, and they're not even on the bubble anymore. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
But like you said, this is where you're definitely rooting for these teams. You're rooting for the Louisvilles and the Purdues and the Clemsons and Michigans, like all those teams, because it only helps your resume, even if we can still look at those conferences, Houston, yep, and feel like they're a bit lackluster. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, how many ACC teams, as we said, are in the sub 100s right now? I'm going to look that up because I'm so fascinated by this. But
while you're looking that up, just because I'm curious, in the chat, who is your number one most hated team? Because the reason why is Mother Carol Duke is the most hated for me. I believe that would be a very popular choice. But I'm curious, who's the rival? Who's the number one enemy?
Okay, hold on a second.
Sorry.
All right, hold on. All right, all right. Then here's the deal, everyone. Tennessee fans, you need to root for Louisville. How about that? Kentucky fans, you get a pass on this one. You don't have to root for Louisville. Okay, you don't have to. So I'm just telling you. But Tennessee fans, you can root for Louisville. That will help you.
Got
but
some Dukes, some Kansas.
A
lot of Kansas. Yeah. Okay.
It's very interesting. You guys really bring out the colorful language when you talk about the teams you hate the most. So that's okay. We understand. State. So Matt's got a three-way tie between Louisville, Duke, and Tennessee. I can see that. So,
yeah, it's what it's all about.
All right. Well, there you go. Don't root for the teams then. Don't root for them.
Who would yours be, Blake?
I don't. Cold weather. It's my most hated rival right now. Cold weather. So, yeah. My goodness. All right. So there you go. There's your updated bracket watch for the day. Net rankings just quickly, and we're probably going to hop off here in a few minutes. This is not, again, we try to do this on game day for you guys, but, I mean, it's a pretty slow midweek just because there's not as many games.
3-3,
but,
yeah.
But it's a big slate tonight. This slate's probably better than the one tomorrow night, just from an observation standpoint, I think. Yeah, I mean, again, in the net, you've still got, 8 SEC teams in the top 20. Missouri's up to 23 now. Georgia's still 26. Vanderbilt's in the top 40. Texas is still top 40. So you're still in that situation where even Arkansas at 56 is still classified as a pretty decent win, right? LSU's at 71, South Carolina 91. So, I mean, that's just kind of where we are, right? South Carolina is still the only team from the numbers perspective that's even going to, and I say hurt you, but, like, it's not going to hurt you that much. It doesn't help, but, like, it's not that sub 150 type loss that we've seen for some SEC teams in recent years. So, yeah.
Yeah, just looking at the slate today, Blake. We touched on a lot of Texas, Missouri, a lot of Tennessee, Mississippi State. Is there anything we're missing with Vandy, Alabama? Are we overlooking Vandy as an 11-point underdog and just
Well,
like I feel like I personally am overlooking this matchup a little bit.
I pointed out, I read you guys, if you watch the prediction video, I read you the entire series history between these two teams in Tuscaloosa. And outside of the 101-44 game 2 years ago or whatever, every single game, like for the past 20 years, has been close. Like, it's just, so I don't know what it is. Maybe that's what we're overlooking, is that that's sort of the way it works. But I that's the only thing I would say. Vanderbilt takes care of the ball. They force turnovers. If you work that formula, like Ole Miss did, you can win games. And we saw do that against Tennessee. Can Vanderbilt do the same thing Ole Miss did? I don't think they're as good defensively. I think that's the problem. But at least they've got some of the tendencies that tend to work. But I don't know. Alabama's coming off a bounce back performance. They're feeling pretty good about themselves. So
that's what I was thinking. Like, is Alabama gonna, come home off a huge win? Because the odds just changed in front of my eyes right now. 12.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not missing anything.
that's going in the wrong direction for the Commodores. So
yeah. I'm gonna
going in the wrong direction. All right.
Yeah.
Here's what we'll do to wrap up. Shout out to Kyle earlier. Didn't tune in much last year when it was 0-18. I understand, Kyle. I understand. Locked in every day this year. We appreciate you, Kyle. Blake asked earlier, strange that Tennessee stayed at 6 in the AP poll. And Max and I were texting about this.
We were.
We said, look, here's the deal, right? The AP voters kind of got it easy this past week because they could look at all these teams except for Auburn, Missouri. Vanderbilt wasn't ranked, but they went 2-0, and say, well, they won one and lost one. So guess what? We're just going to leave them in the same spot. Yep. And because so many, even teams outside the SEC lost. So it was kind of like they didn't really have to do a lot of work to change anything. So was it surprising? No. Would we have probably still left them at 6? Max and I, probably not. But we said in the power rankings, I think it's not that we think Tennessee's a bad team. I think the way they've played, even in that Georgia game, right? It was a rough first half. I think they've played more inconsistent basketball than they have consistent basketball over the past, 3 or 4 games now, maybe? So I think that's my only concern right now with Tennessee, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
It's also tough with teams that have been up at the top because when you go to move them down, you run into like a head-to-head. And you're like, oh, well, they won by 15 a few months ago against this team. Do I really want to, move them behind them? And so there's a few teams like that with the teams at the top. Because I vote in the Everything College Basketball top 25, and you run into that a lot where it's like, I want to move. I'm moving them back, but then I'm like, wait. These teams already played, and the team I'm trying to move back already crushed them. So it's like, it's tough. I think more like around 10-ish would have been more accurate. 9-ish, 10-ish.
We'll see.
Tennessee.
Tyler, college basketball, the most exciting time of the year. Nothing like the intensity of basketball, especially in the SEC. You know why? Because it just means more. Ian asked, by the way, let's clear something up here, okay? Ian said, what's up with the third quarter cats, Max? But then he thanks me for the kiss of death. Can we please just revisit the rules on what a Southeastern 16 kiss of death is? It's not when I pick you. It's when I pick you after Chris and Max have picked you. They both went with the tie on Saturday, right? So don't blame me. Like this isn't the Blake kiss of death, all right? It's the Southeastern 16 kiss of death. So don't blame me when I pick your team. You. unless you were rooting for the opposite, to where you wanted me to pick against you to give Alabama the kiss of death, then now that I understand. But Kentucky midweek off, Oklahoma midweek off, Auburn midweek off. Who's the other team I'm forgetting?
Oh my gosh!
I know.
Three. There's three.
There's one more. There's one more. Somebody in the chat's going to tell me what it is before
LSU?
I can find it. Is it LSU? Yeah, LSU.
There we go.
All right, there you have it. Okay. What else we got here? One other thing. Gene wanted to know the upcoming Auburn stream. Let's just clarify here. It is not an Auburn stream, okay? We're not doing an Auburn power hour, just so we're clear, Gene. We will have something special
video,
for
right?
Auburn fans. Yes. We
Yeah,
will have something special for you, but it will not be like an Auburn power hour or anything. It'll just be a special event for Auburn fans. But yes, it will not be a full stream. I can tell you that up front. But it'll be tomorrow.
I think other fan bases would be interested in it too.
Maybe interested in that for, yeah. We'll see. But yeah. So we're either going to put it up tomorrow or Thursday. So there you have it, Gene. Auburn or Thursday. Or Auburn or Thursday. Tomorrow or Thursday. Look at that.
Auburn or Thursday.
A slip of the tongue there. All right. Zach says he can't wait to see Chad Baker-Mazara tomorrow. All right. Well, there you have it. Okay. We're out of here, folks. Again, so Power Hour stream sounds like a great time. How many shots before Max is hammered?
I hate shots.
I don't know. But okay. So our plan for the next live stream, I wish I could tell you, because tonight's games, like the schedule is, we have the late game is Missouri, Texas, right? So
Great one.
We'll let you guys know what the formula is going to be. There is a chance we may do the reaction to tonight's games tomorrow morning, but there's also a chance we do it tonight. We'll see how the games go. As always, turn on the notifications so you know what we're doing. But yeah, we will of course have you covered. Southeastern 16, lots of fun stuff on the way. And before we head out, I forgot. Sanders Logistics, your friends and mine. I completely forgot about my friends at Sanders Logistics. I'm going to make this the quickest ad read in history. Don't worry. I think they've gotten their money's worth so far. This may not be the best one, but it's going to be the quickest one because Sanders Logistics, formerly known as Ted R. Sanders Moving, is a leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. Their team of professional movers are focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. Whether you are moving across town or across the country, Sanders Logistics has you covered. Visit them at tedrsandersmoving.com.
Woo. There you go.
We're out of here. Notifications on. Hit the subscribe button. Watch some basketball tonight. We'll be back with you to talk all about it. We appreciate you guys watching as always. Talk to you soon. Southeastern 16.